Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday show again. I am your host this evening, the One-Ton Hammer. My co-host tonight, as always, Terry Diamanis.
Hello.
And Genty Maxey.
Hello.
We already did this, but we're doing it again. I'm not sure why they wouldn't sync. I have a little program that I run when I have these kind of problems that works between OBS and YouTube and gets them to talk to each other, which I ran, and then everything synced up, and I was able to go live, and we're actually here. But we've actually already talked about some stuff. We're not actually 10 minutes late. We were on time, but sometimes OBS and YouTube get a little funny, at least when I'm broadcasting, because I'm lucky. Anyway, how are things going, Jen, again?
Yet again, it's actually not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. Like, at best, and this is not really, point of the story, but like I said, I was patting myself on the back because I was trying to cheer up Viva Fry's team the other day because, he lost, and I was like, listen, I would have voted for you, but I don't live in the same province. It just doesn't work like that,
Cool.
And
well,
then,
Canada's election is on our docket for discussion tonight, so we'll definitely be getting into that.
Yeah.
Terry, how you been?
Yeah, not bad. Like I said before, there was an earthquake down in Melbourne, which happens to be where my family lives. Fortunately, everyone's fine, and no property was damaged. So it was a bit scary, but it worked out all fine in the end.
Any friends impacted?
I haven't heard anything from Pete, so I'm hoping that he's okay. But
He's in the same area.
I don't think he was in that part of Melbourne, but I don't know for sure, and I haven't heard anything from him, so hopefully he's all right.
I don't know where the Bears are. I don't know where Claudia is, and I don't really know where Kyber Punisher is. I don't even know if they're in the same state or not.
No, Bering and Sugar Tits are in Queensland, so they're fine. They're nowhere near it.
So I'm going to have to reach out, I guess, sometime tonight to Kyber and see if he's okay. He's a longtime minion, and I'll have to say something snarky to Claudia to get her to reply to me to make sure she's fine. I'm not sure where she's in. She could be anywhere. I know she's on the coast somewhere, but isn't everybody? Tonight's show, if everyone's checked out the topics, is Canada's election will be the first topic we have to discuss. Australia's struggles not relating to natural disaster, and also some interesting information about Singapore. If we have time, we will get to something that's annoying me, a potential grifting situation, and, well, we'll get to it, but it's really, I wanted to start off with the international news because we have an international crew and we have people who can talk on the topic. So why don't we go ahead and get started with Canada's election? Jen, you want to bring us up to date?
Okay, so we just spent $610 million just so Quebec could tell Trudeau to go fuck himself. Because that's literally what happened. They're really, you look at our map and you can kind of tell that there's like a huge cultural shift between all of us. But this entire election was a no-win for anybody. Like, he can go away and be like, well, I'm still the prime minister, but honestly, we didn't really move past where we were. Just because there were, so the CPC keeps making this excuse of splitting the party, but let's be real, O'Toole fucked up. You fucked up. Because it's not so much that PPC was running against him as so much as a lot of others were running against him in this election. And those others were ex-CPC members because like a month before our election, he booted them from the party. And these are all in Ontario. So if you understand anything about our election, you have to understand that out here in the West, we can maybe move some of the election, but we have no numbers. We have no seats. When it comes to Ontario and Quebec, though, they have the pie. They have the pie. So he fucked over his own guys and then turned around and was like, oh, well, it's Bernier's fault because he's running a different party and they're all conservatives. And I'm like, yeah, because you guys are a bunch of blue fucking liberals. So that's why they lost. But on the other hand, Quebec, make no mistake, that was them with as much gusto as they could, telling both parties to go fuck themselves, because that's what the Bloc is. Most people in Quebec actually don't like the Bloc. They don't actually care for what the guy is talking about. They use the Bloc as a way of saying, fuck all of you, you're a bunch of dicks, and we don't want anything to do with you. That's what they said. And I laughed the entire time because it was like, oh, look at that thing go blue. Yeah, because my friend told me about it. He's the one I really should introduce you to, Hammer, because he told me beforehand that that's what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. Jang, I think he actually lost to the Bloc because there were so many of them. And that's the thing. He actually should have a decent amount of seats. Like, that's not shade to him. That's just kind of the way Quebec and Ontario kind of roll. Sorry, Jang, that's the truth of the matter. You could have come out here, but the thing is you think we're all a bunch of racists because you think all white people are racist. So that doesn't work. I know plenty of Sikhs out here who could run circles around you because they just wear a better hat. And they're not banned in India. I felt kind of bad for the Green Party. I don't agree with her policies. But I will always show somebody a little bit more respect when I see how they treat other people around them. And she was the most respectful to every other party leader, including Bernier. Like, she still acknowledged him. Like, she didn't let him in. She didn't fight for him. I won't give her seats there. But out of everybody there, I do say that she felt like the most respectful human being, which is nice to see from a politician, regardless of their politics. So I kind of felt for her there. And I felt for Viva Fry. Like, he didn't win his seats, but at the same time, though, he's still kind of new. And they didn't get any coverage. Like, they were banned from the debates. They were banned from any coverage. And he actually did pretty well. Like, despite the fact that he didn't get seats for a party who's only run twice, they did take 5% for a lot of those seats. Like, he could have actually gotten quite a lot. Because 5% is still no joke. It's still not enough to get him to Parliament, but it's still not enough to send a message out to the CPC, because yet again, these are people who are still buying into a system that's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it really shows on the map. Like, when you look at our map, it's like a Crayola colored scheme of orange and red and blue and then light blue. And if you're really lucky and you look really hard, you might see a little hint of green.
Well, there's going to be a sense of legitimacy here, putting them in third place.
Mm-hmm.
So the next round, they should be considered a viable, because Maxime was kind of excluded from debate because PPC wasn't considered, a real party. But with this showing, even if they didn't make an impact on this election, the fact that they're third place means that they're obviously going to be invited the next time.
Yeah. That's just it, though. Like, they did get a lot more coverage. Some people are mad at them because, like I said, O'Toole is trying to play this whole, they split the party. And we're like, no, you dumbass, you did. And he has been, because he's been kicking people out left, right, and center. And some of his best people are the ones he's kicking out. And I'm like, the minute you do that, these guys branch off and go into other. And they did. A lot of those guys did. I think there's like about five guys off the top of my head that I could probably look up for you that are in Ontario that he could have won simply because they kicked them out of the party. That's not a small amount. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of seats.
I think where he went wrong, Bernier should have done more blackface. Clearly, that's what works for Trudeau. So I think next time round he should give it a try.
Well, he can't, because here's the thing. This is the nice little catch-20 for us. Now this is going to be interesting, because this was part of his party promises, was that if he couldn't make the majority, which he didn't, he's still minority, that he would have to step down. So this is his last round. Like, once this round is done, he's no longer going to run. And for us, that means facing up to Christy Freeland, which honestly is probably not going to be a hard task because she's gross.
She's worse than Trudeau?
Oh yeah, she's just
Wow.
between being waspish, stupid, and just plain out being gross. Like I've never seen a woman not know how to dress herself properly in public,
Well,
and then
don't
play
hold
it
back,
off.
Chen. You know?
And then play it off like that's not the problem. And I'm like, you went to Paris dressed like that.
Risking Trudeau is a scary thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's something else. But she doesn't have what he has, which is like he kind of was riding on the coattails of his fake daddy, not his real daddy, his fake daddy. Because I still don't think Pierre was his dad. But he's lived his whole life on Pierre. And to be honest with you, I would trade the two. And Pierre hated the West, but he didn't hate Canada.
Trudeau does have a certain amount of joie de vivre about him. There is something about him, at least, you know, you don't like him. A lot of people don't like him, but there's a certain reaction to him just over his personality that people on his side just think he's awesome. I don't get it, but
I think it's one of those things when you're a narcissist is that you do have an ability to draw people into you. Like there's a certain way of being nice and then mean, and then nice and then mean. And he's really good at playing that game because his mom was like that. And she's bipolar. I think he's a little bit bipolar too. But the thing with the narcissist is for a few moments, they will make you feel like you're on top of the world. But make no mistake, if you step out of line, they will tear you down. That's what they do. And you can't be doing better than they are. Like they'll pull you up, but if you're doing better than they are, they'll push you down. He has all of that. You know, like even down to like a year and a half ago when he was playing Daddy Dating Sim. I have no doubt that's what he was doing. You know, when he was playing I'm staying at home because my wife has the COVID, but, you know, I'm not going to take any tests for it because I don't think I should. Yeah, I think he was playing the Daddy Dating Sim. Because that's his level of fucks that he gives. That's his narcissism. Because he likes to play up looking at himself, how he looks. I actually watched a thing earlier where they were kind of going over those blackface photos of him because he is facing the camera. He's outright making facial expressions at the camera. He's well aware of the fact that he's dressed up the way he is and the level of which he put detail into that. Like I didn't realize that for some of those like the banana shirt one where he's like making the face and I'm a gorilla kind of face. He had the paint all the way down to his legs, like the rips in his jeans. He had the paint all the way down that far, and he's making that face at the camera. He knows damn well what he's doing, but he doesn't have the capacity to understand why it's wrong. You know, yeah, I'm not saying that as like a hate. I'm just saying that as somebody who watches him do that kind of shit, and yeah, like there are a lot of women who are easily fooled by that because he does come across as somebody who can
certain charisma. Yeah. Where does Canada go from here?
So the thing is a lot of people kind of expected this. Like I don't think Bernier was. You're always going to hope to win seats. You know, he's a politician. That's what he's there for. But the fact that he got as much as he did, that for him is still hope. Now for us, it's really going to be seeing what the Conservatives do because they're either going to keep O'Toole or they won't. It'll be seeing whether or not Justin holds to his word because he did make that one of his party promises that he would step down if he didn't get the minority. And they're not really winning any more time. Like at best, they maybe got an extra year because that's what they did. Like we had our election like a year ago and now we're back at year one. So, you know, okay. They're probably going to try this again, you know, give it a couple of years, be like, well, you know how we tried to, yeah, you know, we're going to do it. They're probably going to try it again because these people are relentless and they really want to push this passport thing. And they have, like, even up here, they have. I don't think that's going to go over very well. Not everybody has access to the internet. Like they had a story that I saw on Twitter where this old lady in Toronto was trying to go to a McDonald's and she didn't have a passport because she can't download one.
Right.
She
She was homeless or something like that, so she didn't have a phone, so she couldn't download a passport.
And like this is automatically going to cause discrimination, and it's going to target the people that they claim to protect, because I hate to break it to them, homeless people aren't restricted to white people. And in our country, a lot of them are Native American, and it's really, really fucked up. It is. But I doubt it that they have passports either.
Native American? Do you mean like Inuit Native American or
Native American? Native American.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought your oppressed class was the Inuit.
No.
But you have Native Americans as well.
Oh yeah, we got lots of tribes. Oh yeah, we got lots and lots and lots of tribes. I can't pronounce a lot of names, so I'm not going to ever list them all off. Blessed, you'll get my favorite ones, which are the Cree and the Blackfoot, because they're my neighbors. They're my first neighbors, as far as I'm aware. But there's a lot of other clans in Alberta that I just, if I were to try to pronounce their name, I would butcher it. And out of respect, I don't want to do that.
Well, it just goes to show my ignorance, because I always thought that in Australia, it was the Aborigines, and in the United States, it was the American Indians, and in Canada, it was the Eskimos or the Inuit.
I am probably supposed to call them. I don't like calling them that. Like they're the First Nations. First Nations.
Is that a derogatory term to call them Inuit?
Yes. Well, no,
that's what they call themselves.
It's not derogatory. It's more of the fact that they're a completely different tribe. Like they're a completely different group of people.
Oh.
Like Inuits are up north. Like they are
Right.
specifically up north. Like if you were to talk about a tribe that could almost be their own country in a sense, they kind of are. And they do have their own tribes too. Like they're not just one tribe either. But they're kind of separate. Like, you go down north, you go up north and then you go down south, like completely different groups of people. Like some of these people didn't know each other existed until we came along.
I see.
But we do try to make sure that they're okay up there. I don't blame them for voting for who they vote, because they vote for whoever's going to make sure that they get food. Because they're kind of in a location where that's kind of how it is. Like shipments are a thing. But you know what? The Inuits do okay on their own too. It's just one of those things where if you leave them to do their own thing, and I can't stress to you enough how much I hate my government. I don't doubt Terry has feelings like this, because when it comes to the Aboriginals or the natives, sometimes the problems are things that could be fixed. Like for us up here, it's the water. Like it really does bother me that there are children who go to take a shower or bath, and their skin is peeling the next day. Like they're getting blisters on their skin.
Wow.
Like they're getting scars on their skin. They can't drink the water. They have to bring in water. It does bother me that that's something that infrastructure wise could be fixed. I get that it's a money laundering thing. Like they go from company to company to company. They get like a wide range of people. They get companies that are willing to do it, companies. And it's all related to the government. And I'm just like, can't the people just do a fucking GoFundMe, hire their own, go to the natives and be like, here, this is what we want to do. Do you care if it's these guys? No? Okay, let's do it. Because I can't stand the thought of that.
Isn't it unusual, or maybe it is not unusual now that I think about it, but we have 3 different people from 3 different countries, and all 3 of us hate our government.
I hear stuff like that, and it horrifies me. I'm like, would you fucking fix the problem? Stop making it a political angle and leave these people alone. Like, they're fucking kids.
Yeah. So Terry has a whole slew of things.
You had the rain shines in Australia today for different reasons.
I mean, I hate the government that we currently have. Not that I thought Trump was perfect either. You're not happy with Trudeau, but at least I still feel like fairly free person. I got to imagine Australia is, if it happened to us and it was us and we did it to ourselves, I'd be all right. But seeing what's going on in Australia literally makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make jokes.
I feel
about
so bad for you, Terry.
But
I
maybe
mean,
we should upgrade to cassowaries because they're scarier.
I mean, you're
I'm
not really
lucky.
affected because you've
Yeah.
isolated yourself from everything. But to know that you're in, if I was living in Australia, I would be literally frightened right now.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, even though I don't go outside much, there are still times when it would be convenient to, like, if I've got to go get groceries. I mean, I can get them delivered, but there's like a minimum of $50 on every order. So if I only need like a couple of things, then I usually just think I'll wait until I need more because then I can get $50 worth of stuff.
Right.
But part of it is self-inflicted. Like if I just put a mask on, I'd be all right. I just refuse to. I don't have any like confidence that masks work. Sorry, Susan. I have to.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I don't think they work, and I see no value in it, and I refuse to wear one just for the sake of going grocery shopping.
Well, there was that study. I posted it to Twitter. There was a study. I think I even bookmarked it in my YouTube. A doctor ran a study against 300,000 Bangladesh citizens, separated them into 3 groups:
Hmm.
cloth masks, surgical masks, and N95. Or no masks, cloth masks, and surgical masks was the breakdown.
Right.
And he took it was a random thing by area. So you weren't getting any intermingling between them kind of deal. So it was well written, well isolated case. And it came down to there was no difference between the group who was not wearing masks and the people who were wearing cloth masks.
Of course not.
No statistical difference. It was like 0.09% or some crazy number like that. And even the people who were wearing masks wasn't dramatically different either. It was better, but not a lot better. And
But
this
do they,
is on
do-
YouTube, so Susan can't have a problem with it or me mentioning it. So it is just a valid test that happened, and that's that.
Well, it's also the fact that they're not covering all the other stuff that it's doing. You know, like yet again, I had a long walk today, and I noticed this lady waiting for the bus, and she had her mask under her chin, and I'm like, lady, don't you know where the sweat on your face goes to sit and die? You know, and for however long she's sitting there, I don't blame her for taking off the mask, at least enough so she can breathe before she gets on. But I'm like, most people are going to do that because it's easier. You know, and then she puts it on her face, and then she sits on the bus for the next 30 to 40 minutes with a bunch of other people who've all done the same thing. And I'm like, how is that better than going free?
Right.
You know, she's got a filthy mask on her face unintentionally because people just do stuff like that. And now she's breathing that crap in. She also probably hasn't brushed her teeth during the day because most people don't. So she's breathing that crap in too. And most people have allergies. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the allergies do get through the mask. They do.
Sure.
And they
Of course
don't just get into the mask, they get stuck on the mask. So when you're wearing them, you're just kind of breathing it in a little bit more effectively. Because now it's helped your face.
I wear an unusual mask. I found a mask. It's a cloth mask, but it has an insert behind the cloth. It has a metal clip for your nose.
Okay.
So it sits really well on your face, and it covers under your chin. It doesn't just go down to the front of your chin. It actually goes underneath. So it's a really great mask for a cloth mask. But behind that, it has an insert where you can insert N95 cloth behind the mask.
Okay.
So, of course, every time I wear it, I wash it the same day. And I have a packet of 50 inserts. So if I feel an insert has been in there long enough, I throw it away, put a new one in. So
well, you can just put all 50 in at once and be really safe.
that wouldn't be enough, according to some people. But the point being is that N95 masks are just too hard to get and too expensive still.
Yeah.
If they were just everywhere and everyone can get them, then that wouldn't be a big thing. But I think that this is the best solution that I can come up with. I'm like Terry, I very rarely have to leave the farm. Everything is delivered to me. I don't have to leave for virtually any reason. There's no reason I have to leave my house. Even for food, it's cheaper for me to get food than it is for Terry. I pay $10 per, and I could pay $100 for a year and not have to pay for any deliveries at that point. If I were to put $100 up front, then I can have him deliver every day for free. I could do that. I'm not planning on doing that, but I could. So there are options for me. I can get groceries, any kind of anything that I would want. And if I can't get it through Shipped, which is the name of the company who does this, because they can go to a grocery store, they can go to pharmacies, they can go anywhere. I just have to tell them which store I want them to buy from. Then if I can't get it there, I can get it from Amazon, and I can wait a day or two because that's how long Amazon takes to get to me. You know, you get a list of all these things I want to order, and they all say will be shipped on this day, and you'll receive it by that day. And I just pick the one that's closest to today.
Yeah, I'm good at being patient. I don't care if it takes a few days for a delivery to get here. That's never been a problem for me.
The only thing I've recently ordered that I wanted like snappy was I get these bags of steak fries from the grocery store, and I don't have. I have obviously a baking plate. With edges, pan.
Oh, like a tray? Like a tray?
Right. But I don't want to put the fries directly on the surface. I want the heat to get underneath them. So I have this little metal tray that you could place the fries on top of so that the air gets underneath. And it ends up cooking them better. You don't have one side that's kind of raw or burnt, depending on how long you left it in there. It cooks evenly if it's off the actual pan. Yeah. The problem is the fries have a tendency to fall even though they're steak fries, they have a tendency to fall between them. So you have to take each fry and place it. So it's a pain in the ass, and they're cold, they're frozen. So by the time you're done putting all the fries on the little tray to put on the pan in the oven, and of course, as soon as you try to open up the oven door, you bang the pan, they all fall in anyway, and you get to take it back out and put them all back where I bought a tray from Amazon, and it's still the same metal tray, but the metal pieces that go vertically and horizontally are much closer together, so fries can't fall between. So now I'll just be able to just toss them on there, spread them out, and put them in and be done. And it was shipped by Amazon, but it was shipped by Amazon to USPS. So they didn't drop it off directly at my house; they dropped it off at my USPS instead. Unusual, but they do it from time to time. USPS lost it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding. The one thing I really want that I have to have kind of today that was supposed to be here today, you lost it?
Damn.
So she actually, the girl I spoke to at USPS actually said, hold on a second, because she had heard my voice. I was pissed. And she went looking for it. And she says, listen, we logged it in. We did get it. We do have it. She says, I cannot find it in the office. She says, but I'll call the girl who's delivering on her cell phone and get back to you. 5 minutes later, the girl she gets back to me. She says, yeah, the girl who went to deliver to your house today, you have a very long driveway. I was like, yeah, the farm sits back off the main drag. She says, when she got to your driveway, it had rained the day before, and the entry to the driveway was flooded. Now, of course, I haven't left my house in weeks, so I don't know that there was anything going on down there. So she couldn't get the truck through the water because she didn't know how deep the water was. So that's why she didn't deliver it. She says she's already on her way back here. We're not going to send her back out, but I guarantee you it'll be there tomorrow, whether she drives through that water or not. We will get it to you tomorrow. And sure enough, tomorrow was today. And I got it today. So they went the extra mile. For as much as I hate United States Postal Service as far as delivering mail, and around the United States, it's kind of known that our postal service is awful.
Yeah.
My local delivery people from my USPS are really, they're people who live here, around the same area, and we all know who they are, and they all know who we are, kind of deal. So they're much more responsible than the average USPS, because there's always the big conspiracy about how the government conspires to do this and all these back alley things. And I says, like, they can't even deliver the mail.
Yeah.
How could they possibly be so devious? But anyway, I don't want to get too far off on this, but
No,
when
you're
it comes
fine. I was giggling because my brain, I was listening to you describe how you do your fries, and it's like, you know what I do? I just stop them midway through, flip them, and then I season them, and then I put them back in
I'm
the
way
oven.
too lazy for that.
Yeah.
I am way
It's,
too lazy for that.
And
But with
sometimes because I do that, I put cheese on them, so when they come out, they're cheese fries.
Oh man,
with
is
the
funny.
masks, I found a website, fake masks. I think it's only in the US though, so I can't actually get any. But they're like transparent, so like you are technically wearing a mask, and they even say, "Look, this offers literally zero protection against anything. Like they are purely cosmetic,
Cosmetic.
but they
Yeah.
are technically a mask, so you can wear them and be allowed on a plane or in a supermarket or whatever."
Yeah, for everyday daily use. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to get into a hospital or anything like that with them. Even my
No,
mask, which is actually better. That's a frustrating thing. When I don't want to get off too much on masks. I want to make sure we have time to talk about Singapore. But the thing that frustrates me about masks is my mask is better than a surgical mask. Yet when I go to the hospital, which is a pretty common thing, they make me
yeah,
take my mask off and put a surgical mask on. I tell them, you've just made me more susceptible
yeah,
to COVID than less. Well, it's policy. I can't wear a cloth mask. I said, look at this. See this? And I pulled out. That is an N95 filter. I said, this is basically an N95 mask with style. That's the only real difference between them. And, well, I can't guarantee. Just give me the surgical mask. Screw it. Very frustrating.
I'll bet.
But, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
What I usually do is when I walk away, I put my mask over top of their mask. I know it's wearing two masks, but they can't give me shit because, I'm still wearing their mask. So, okay. I don't go that. I mean, I play it up a little bit, but I don't really go to the hospital. I've only been to the hospital once this month, which is pretty good for me. And I won't have to go again until, well, today's the 22nd. I have an appointment on the 28th. So I'll have gone twice this month. So it's really not that bad. But
Well, I live in the future, so it's the 23rd. So if you use my schedule, then you're one day closer to the end of the month.
yeah, which means one day closer to payday. Why don't we go ahead and move on to Singapore?
Sorry, I don't know where that came from either.
That's okay. You're in a good mood. I like it. Singapore, I guess you probably heard that Israel is one of the most vaccinated countries on the planet at the
I
moment.
have heard that,
Yes.
yes, actually.
They are currently at 63% vaccination rate. I think it's like 82, 83 or something like that percent first jab, and 60, somewhere around the low 60s on the second jab. They are very vaccinated. And they're experiencing a high rate of infection, even
Yes, they
though
are.
they're at that rate. Well, surprise, surprise, Singapore is at 81.2% vaccination second jab and have reached herd immunity and are experiencing their highest spike ever of infections. So I had a little graph that I tweeted out. People who are listening to the show, if you want information about this kind of stuff, you really have to follow me on Twitter. Because all of this stuff ends up on Twitter before I talk about it on the show. I went looking for the graph and now I can't find a damn thing. But
it was pretty funny on Sargon's new podcast, because like they have the free stuff on YouTube and then they have like an ad for their paid website. And so at the end of the video, they're saying, with regards to COVID, blah, 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 and vaccines and breakout cases, now let's talk about Israel. And and then Callum says, I'm just going to cut it right there.
Well, we have to be careful about talking about COVID in general, especially masking and vaccine. So we have to deal with YouTube and stay within the good blessings of Susan. But
not just YouTube, like it's just a common conversation with people. Like I've noticed that, like I can have a regular conversation about it with my mom, walk away agreeing with stuff, and then the next week have the same conversation, and she's so completely twisted on what she was just talking about last week. because the information is so flippy all over the place. Nobody trusts what they're reading, but they don't know. So they're like, okay, well, I'll leave this on the back shelf because I don't know. And she is I find that a lot of the elderly are buying into this crap. A lot of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my mom, I can't even talk to her about it because she's 93. She watches, she doesn't watch CNN, but she watches ABC News, 4 hours a day. And I was like, there's nothing getting through that. She's just getting indoctrinated every single day. And she loves watching the news. So there's nothing I can do about that. But I did not get nicked for posting the chart from Singapore.
That's good.
And also there's a doctor on YouTube. I can't remember his name. I'll have to tweet out about it, but he is an immunologist and he is creating videos on YouTube talking about this stuff. And
well, he won't be for long.
He was the one who came up with the whole Bangladesh study that they did. He was the one who posted that on his channel. And it's still there. And it's been there for a while. So I'm kind of like, how is this guy getting past this? Why isn't Susan, yeeting him off YouTube? So I started following him, and he's like, not holding back. And he's very clinical. He's not, no politics at all. No real passion. It's almost boring to watch him. He's very monotone and that kind of stuff. I'm Dr. Monahan, and I am talking about this today. And it's like, well, dude, I have a little personality, but what he's getting across is just like, holy crap, how are you still on YouTube? Why haven't you been yeeted off the platform? So I'm going to start posting some of his stuff to Twitter and see if I can get him some exposure, and of course get him kicked off of YouTube probably.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because he's making probably valid points. And that's the thing, is there's plenty of people who are making valid points. I've pointed out to my mom before, you should treat this season like you do every flu season. And you're at that age now where you've always treated every flu season seriously since you became a senior. So
I thought that was going to be a segue. I thought you were going to say, and speaking of getting kicked off YouTube.
It was, but let Jen go. Go ahead, Jen.
No, but for real though, it's just just take it like it's a regular cold flu season, folks, because it's probably what it is. But go ahead.
Have you got a flu? Have you got your flu shots?
You know what? They haven't even talked about them.
Really? Well, there is no flu this year, so it seems kind of silly to take one. Terry, how about you, Terry? Do they push it like they push people in the States?
When I was working, I did see a lot of signs outside of pharmacies saying, get your flu shot here. And they did be charts and stuff up and sort of making the point, actually do this. It's important and all that. But I don't watch TV, so I can't speak to whether there's ads on television saying, and don't forget your flu shot, because I don't watch TV. So I don't know if that's a big deal, but certainly walking past a pharmacy, when it's time for the flu shot, there's always lots of signs saying, you can get the flu shot here, and this is why you should get it, and all that sort of thing.
Every time I go to my doctor, my regular primary care physician, we call them PCPs here, every time I go to him, one of the first things they ask me, besides, have you had, have you changed your diet? Have you changed your medications? Are you still taking everything we have listed? I go through all that kind of stuff originally. The very next thing that comes out of their mouth is, had you had your flu shot? And what I've done, and he's gotten kind of used to it, is he turns and asks me the questions. I look at him, I just kind of smile, and he's like, yeah, I know. He understands. The flu doesn't exist this year. Why get a shot? But anyway, speaking of getting yeeted off of YouTube, I'm a big fan of Sydney Watson for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons. I like her content straight up. I like the items that she picks. I like the way she presents them. I especially liked, I'm not sure if I can say like as opposed to liked, her Surfshark ads that she did by
Mm.
herself. She doesn't just take the
Those are
canned
funny.
ad. They are funny. She brings in her little feminist person and her, learned person with the glasses on, all that kind of stuff. And she does a little
Yeah.
skit, and it's funny. And even when she's talking about the subject she's talking about, she throws in these little quips every once in a while that are intended and they make you laugh. She goes, she'll say,
Yeah.
but of course, what the hell would I know? I am just in Australia. She makes these little jabs as she goes along, and it's entertaining. And that was the reason why I started watching her. And I originally watched her because I'd heard that she was kind of an MRA, and this was when I was
A
much
little
more.
bit.
Yeah, she was. She's been at several gatherings and spoken about it.
Hmm.
It doesn't permeate her channel.
She
but
did a men's march in
Yeah.
Australia. Was it
there,
Sydney or
there are
Melbourne?
pictures of her at it on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on the internet. There are pictures of her attending it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
I forget
got
what
me.
city it was, but yeah, she did organize a men's march.
Yeah. So that's what first, because at that time I was kind of really into MGTOW, and I was like, all right, that's not the same thing, but she caught my eye. And then I saw her channel, and I was like, she's kind of built. I was like, she's one of my favorite YouTubers. And of course, she's not
It's the
hard on
butter-scented mind control vagina that she has, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And of course, she's not hard to look at either. I mean, she looks very much like my girlfriend, except my girlfriend has light eyes, and Sydney Watson has brown eyes. But she's the same height, same build, same long brown hair. I mean, they're the same skin tone. Gotta be careful how I say that. So, yeah. So I mean, there's a plenty of connections there, plenty of reasons for me to watch her. Her partner in crime, Moses Elijah Schaefer. I cannot stand that man. I cannot. He talks faster than Ben Shapiro, and his voice is higher than hers is. He sounds like a mouse on speed. I can't. Anyway, I was like, all right, I don't care. I will bear the burden of him just to watch what she has to say in a live presentation, because I've been watching her scripted videos. Should be interesting to see how she is live. And the show is pretty well produced, got some nice graphics, all that kind of stuff. Wasn't particularly interesting.
Fair enough.
I just kind of like, that's not really hitting home with me. But I kept it on my list of shows. When it came up, I watched it. Kind of not sat down on my PC and watched, but kind of listened to it while I was making dinner or something like that, like a radio show. And
but I will say, if you don't like Elijah Schaefer, you might like his wife, Kezia, because she has her own YouTube channel. She hasn't uploaded to it in ages, but she used to walk around Sydney and do the men on the street interviews and
nice.
Ask the questions that make feminists slightly uncomfortable.
I like that idea. So yeah, I mean, I was like, all right, new show. They promoted it like a month before it actually started with content, blah, blah, blah. Everything's fine. No big deal. And they talked on the show pretty controversially, but they didn't talk controversial and stay within YouTube's rules. They talked controversial and they snubbed YouTube's rules. And there's a way of talking on YouTube about controversial subjects and still getting your point across without breaking the rules. A lot of ways people used to do this in the past was, instead of saying COVID-19 and getting dinged, they would say the coof. Jeremy from the Quartering probably started a lot of that. There are ways of getting your point across without breaking the rules. And you don't have to be terribly smart.
Bedroom fun. There's a lot of euphemisms that they use.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't have to be terribly smart to employ that ideal. And case in point, one of my personal favorite podcasts, what used to be Beauty and the Beta, is now the Matt and Blonde Show. They have been on for 5 years. I sound like the guy from what was the name of that? The John Cusack movie where Grosse Point Blank.
Oh yeah.
10 years. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. It's a great movie. Go watch it.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've seen it.
Yeah, but they've been on the air broadcasting controversial stuff for 5 years, and they've never been shut down. to the point where they're not sure why they're not being shut down. That's how much. I mean, they're the ones who are broadcasting saying, I can't believe Susan's allowing me to get away with this. And of course, Matt uses the defensively, Susan. I would only shoot the guy defensively, to try to get around being nicked. So they know how to play the game. And that's what you have to do to be on YouTube. You have to know how to play the game. I play that same game on Twitter. I know how to say things that will keep me from getting banned, but we'll still get the point across.
Of course.
But these two people, Elijah, who's supposed to be a smart person, and Sydney, who evidently is a smart person, cannot last a week without being banned off the show. And what's the first thing they do? Come subscribe to Blaze TV and we'll give you 25% off.
Yeah.
Dude, that is not the way you go about it. If you get banned off of YouTube, push your Patreon or your float plane or whatever you prefer, if you don't like Patreon, and go on Rumble. Yeah,
the thing I mentioned on Twitter is that a lot of people who get censored unfairly see a huge influx of support. And so I would not be surprised if someone tried to generate that for themselves. Like if they could paint themselves as being unfairly shut down, then they would get the same sort of influx that like Dankula got with the Nazi pug thing, where everyone could see that what was happening to him was utterly unfair. So they just threw money at him to pay for his court costs. I can see them trying to manipulate people into that kind of frame of mind to just sign up to the Blaze.
I think this was an intentional grift. I think they planned all this, and because it couldn't have gone better if they were. Yeah. Here we come up with a well-produced show. It's snazzy. It looks great. It has popular people on it. Look how wonderful it is. Draw a big audience. Oopsie daisy. Was Jeremy say oopsie whoopsie poopsie doopsie?
Yeah.
We're banned. Now pay for us. We weren't smart enough to play the game. Therefore, it has to come out of your wallet. What they should have done is paid the $25 a month for Rumble to live stream, because we can live stream on Rumble. You have to pay to do it. Between the two of them, I think they could figure $25 between the two of them would work, and live stream there instead, because Rumble's going to give them the latitude to say whatever the hell they want.
Yeah,
and it has a super chat feature, so they could do that, but they chose instead to hide behind Blaze TV, and we know Blaze ends up screwing you over, because why do you think Lauren Chen got out from under?
I don't know. I don't know the details of what happened there.
She got out from under because she was losing viewership. People don't want to pay. They'll do super chat off the top of their heads, but they don't want to pay another company so they can watch their guy. So her viewership just tanked. And she realized that people were starting not to watch her YouTube videos either. She was falling out of popularity. So she cut ties with Blaze, and now she's back up. Everybody's watching her like crazy again.
Well, that actually makes sense, because she had to shield for Blaze in every video. Like that was probably part of like her contract or something, because every video she would say, and you can catch the rest of this show on Blaze TV, or So at some point it does start feeling like she's begging for money, which
I saw this coming. At the end of their show, if you watch the show all the way through, at the end of the show, after they signed off, a little Blaze logo came up on the screen.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh, Blaze is behind this. And sure enough.
See, before you mentioned it, I wouldn't have thought they were like deliberately grifting. I would have thought, no, they're idiots. And then tried to capitalize on getting kicked off by moving over to Blaze. But yours makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like before you mentioned it, I just wasn't thinking of that at all. But once you brought it up, I was like, actually, yeah, that makes more sense.
For as much as I dislike Schaefer, I don't think he's a dumb guy.
No.
He seems like a pretty reasonable, intelligent person. I can't stand his presentation, but that's just him. So that's personal preference. Yeah. Who the fuck cares what I think about him? But I know Sydney's not a stupid person for a fact.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed because it certainly seems like this is the case here. They certainly have an option that would work. You don't like YouTube? my God, Rumble is right there. You know,
Yeah.
the only thing that Rumble doesn't have is dark mode. Otherwise, they're great.
I think I think maybe the plan was to be on YouTube and Blaze, like the same way that Lauren was. Like
Sure.
every third like video is on YouTube, but you have to sign up to Blaze to see all of them.
Mhm.
And then when they got kicked off, they're like, "Hey, we can use this."
Yeah. Yeah. See, I mean, it's hard. It just, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm seeing something where there is nothing. And if I'm out of line, then I'm out of line. But Jesus
Well-
awfully looks like this is the right thing here.
Well, if there was a Blaze logo on the very first episode, then they were always going to be on Blaze TV. Like that was set before they even started.
Yeah. I thought maybe they were just being sponsored by them, or maybe Blaze was carrying their show as well as, but it seems like YouTube was the secondary option.
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan was the same thing Lauren Chen had, where like one every 3 videos they put on YouTube as a way of luring you into paying for Blaze TV, or like Steven Crowder with his Mug Club, where there's clips on YouTube, but hey, you want to see the full show, give us $25 and sign up to Blaze.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think, Jen? Do you think the conspiracy is on here, or do you think that this is a legitimate point?
It's possible. It's entirely possible, especially on the internet. I'm sorry, all sides have grifters. They do. And a lot of these people get used to their money, and when they don't get it, they try to find it somehow else. And drama does get a lot of money. But the problem is you now live in an age where most people are actually really paranoid, because that's happened a lot over the last 6 years. Like, you're not just talking historically over life, you're talking historically over the last current years. So I would give it some time, but I wouldn't be surprised if people looked into it further. And I would wait, because if I wouldn't be surprised if they found stuff, because there's a lot of people who are being a little bit dishonest about it. I mean, maybe they didn't get what they wanted out of it, and this is their way of trying to make up for it. I don't know. But you know these people better than I do. Like, you watch them. So for you to get that...
You haven't watched either one of them?
Not really, no.
Oh.
I just, I saw them. Like, I've known they've been around. Like, they're everywhere.
Mhm.
So it's not like I don't know of them. It was just like, yeah, another one.
But other than his wife, the other thing I like about Elijah is his co-host on his Slightly Offensive podcast, producer more than co-host, but Savannah Hernandez is great. She's the best part of that stream. I only saw 1 or 2 episodes of it, but she was the highlight for me.
Does she do her own stuff, or is she just on Slightly Offensive?
She has her own YouTube channel. I think it's Sav Says, something like that. I haven't actually seen that one. I should check it out, since she's the only good thing about Slightly Offensive. But she was easily the best part of that show.
Well, I've considered at times, when it comes to paying for a service, I've thought about subscribing to the Ben Shapiro show.
Mm-hmm. Daily Wire.
I'm sorry?
The Daily Wire.
Yeah, the Daily Wire. Because I like Matt Walsh too, and it would be kind of worth it. I always wanted myself a leftist Tumblr, much more than I ever wanted to be in the Mug Club. I'll tell you that. But I mean,
well, yeah, it's not that I don't mind supporting them, but like, it's really about whether or not I can and whether or not it's worth it. Like, for some people, Crowder is worth it. Some people really enjoy that guy, so they want all his content, and he is kind to like the vets and military people and stuff like that. He's good to the students and stuff, but I don't really want to watch him that much. No. I like you, Steven, but to be quite frank, for somebody who's part Canadian, you fucking suck.
Okay.
No, I mean that, because he never really covers anything in Canada unless it's to make fun of it, and it's just, you could actually throw us a bone every once in a while, you know, because there's a lot of.
I don't know if I can 100% agree, because his whole shtick about going on campuses and having a conversation, that's all our American campuses. He's showing how stupid our American kids are. So he does it to us too.
Oh, I know. It's just it's one of those things where if you threw us a bone every once in a while, because I don't doubt that if you knew who was subscribed to his mug club, there's probably a lot of Canadians, because we tend to do that. And also because we do kind of support you guys a little bit too. Like, I mean, it's not like we don't care about American politics, because when you guys get a cough, we kind of die a little.
You know, Chen is leaving Canada, right?
Yeah, I am not surprised.
She's moving to the States.
Yeah, it's getting a little scary up here.
I don't know where she's moving to. A lot of people are moving to Tennessee or Texas. I don't know if you can come from Canada and move to an environment like that without bursting into flames, but there are some northern places that are pretty good. The Dakotas, like South Dakota, has that Kristi Noem. Is the governor of South Dakota. Is it South or North Dakota? It's one of the Dakotas. Who gives a shit? They're the same thing. She runs a pretty cool state, and that's kind of cold up there. So that would be kind of like Canada, or Canada light, I guess you would say. But it's going to be interesting to having her in the States. You guys lost another patriot to the Americans.
Well, we did, but at the same time, I really can't blame her. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people move, and it's not just Canadians. I'm saying a lot of people who are foreigners who came here. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them move, because a lot of them came here thinking we were a free nation, and now they're insisting on these passports, and it's like, that's just it really doesn't work. You know, at some point people are not going to be able to. Not everybody has the availability of these liberals. Sorry, not everybody is a rich person living in their mommy's basement. Sorry.
See, when we start getting about on this topic, I get kind of triggered. I don't want to sound like a ranting hammer here, but it really I can't even say it annoys me. It actually makes me angry of all the shit that we used to get as Americans, as members of the United States. I won't say Americans, because you're an American too, Jen, because you live in North America. But the amount of shit that the states used to get about our gun laws, and how, and neither you nor Terry are included in this, but it was a regular flow of crap from other countries about all American schools are just being shot up all the time, and they shouldn't have all these guns, and blah, 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 blah. It was
I've seen a lot of that. I've seen tons of that.
It's a constant railing from other countries that we're doing it wrong. Everyone else is right and we're wrong, because we're, besides Mexico, amazingly, and Guatemala, we're the only country that allows citizens to own weapons for whatever reason they want. You want to buy it and you haven't had a conviction against you and you're not insane? Well, here, have a weapon. It's the same thing in Mexico, which I don't know if is a good thing. And it's the same thing of all places. Guatemala? What the fuck? Anyway, everyone else has been telling us how wrong we are. And now look at things. We're the only ones who have a chance at surviving this. Because you guys can't defend yourselves. I can't tell you how much it hurts my heart to know that there are Australian police shooting people with less than lethal guns to round them up like cattle.
Well, like I said on Twitter, the back is where the COVID is, so they're just trying to scare it away. That's all. It's totally fine.
I mean,
I stand by what I said. Upgrade from the emos, train up your cassowaries, and go to war.
I don't. There are very few things. I'm much more passionate about this than a lot of the other things I used to claim passion about in the past. And I've been trying to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to alienate people that I like. I don't want to alienate friends. I don't want to go in here and say, fucking Australia, now they're getting what they fucking deserve. I don't want to say that because I have friends in Australia and I don't want to turn my back on them or make them feel like I think less of them. But their government is fucking crazy. And Canada ain't far behind. Oh, I want to scream.
Yeah. I mean, and on top of everything else, you guys have stuff that you should actually be dealing with. Like today, you actually had an earthquake.
Yes.
More important things to think about and worry about is like, okay, this just happened. Let's focus on this. And guaranteed, there's going to be some idiot who's like, you don't have your fucking mask.
I should have
And I
done
saw-
more homework and put that on the list of things to talk about tonight because it deserves to be talked about.
Yeah.
I just didn't
saw
do any homework.
I saw a thing on Twitter where it said Australian police at a Black Lives Matter protest and they're all kneeling. Like Australian police at a freedom protest and they're shooting everyone with beanbags. It's not far off. It's basically true.
And the whole thing with whipping people, I guess you saw that about the border.
Oh, yeah, that was stupid.
The person who came up and said that they were being whipped, someone, I mean, defensively, Susan, but they should be dealt with in a defensive way. That's how you do it, Sydney. That's how you say what you want to say without being yeeted off of YouTube. Something should be done about that person. They caused a lot of harm by lying. And it wasn't like they made a mistake. They sensationalized on purpose a straight out lie to cause havoc, and that should not be allowed. That's crying fire in a movie house.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Matt Walsh on Twitter. He had like a picture of some cable coiled up and said, I don't know if this is a noose or a whip, but I'm scared either way.
All right. Well, I mean, those are all the topics I had for tonight. Do you guys want to... Terry, you don't really have that much information about the earthquake anyway, do you?
No, only what my mom told me, which is not a lot.
Do you know
she was
how bad it was? What
5.9 is what I heard yesterday on the Richter scale. So yeah, it's the biggest one they've had down there for like quite a long time. Mum was saying
a lot of damage, a lot of deaths. Have you heard anything?
I don't know the details. Sorry. The part I cared about was my family, and they're fine. So I was like, okay, I don't have too much concern about the rest of it.
Well, at this point, you're better off probably waiting a little bit just to see. But I would be worried more about Pete because he's probably okay from what you said, but it's more of like his family. You know, because just because he's okay doesn't mean he's not busy looking for his too. You know. So if you're listening, Pete, you know, good luck, and I would send you cassowaries, but those aren't the right ones. Those I restrict for your police officers that are naughty. I don't want to accuse all Australian police officers of being these really scary dudes, because you guys are really gonna have to start looking at yourselves. Like I hope everyone takes the pictures of these people.
Yeah. There was a thing in the States where a bunch of security guards tackled a junior attorney general or something like that. Monkey covered it on his stream, so I didn't.
I'm not saying people attack cops either, by the way, just to clarify.
See, that was a tweet I put out earlier today. I think Terry responded to it because Terry watches my tweets and loves me very much, and some people don't.
Yes.
The point being is that I lost my chain of thought.
Sorry.
I hate when I do that. I'm old and I've had.
Do you want me to finish what?
Aneurysms. What was the tweet I'm talking about? I just lost my train of thought. What was the tweet I was going to talk about? Oh, ACAB. All right. See, it doesn't take that long. Quickly. I put out a tweet that pointed this out, and I said, you know, I don't believe in ACAB. You might see tweets on me on a regular basis where I pick out First Amendment auditing issues showing cops in bad light, sometimes in a good light. And I preface the tweet by saying, I don't believe in ACAB. However, it's kind of a little thing I got going. I might actually embrace it. But the tweet I put out today was, I never really believed it was all cops. I never really believed in all cops, but I'm beginning to believe it's most, because the amount that I'm being exposed to just from First Amendment auditors, and now I'm seeing this shit from regular general news, it's starting to get to be a point where, now granted, these guys are security officers. So, you know, they're looking at a lawsuit, I guarantee it right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to go down pretty quick. You can't do what they did. End of story. And that's the other complaint about America. You guys are litigious. You sue for every little thing. Well, yeah, that's how you maintain your rights, is by suing. You hit people in pockets and things change.
Yeah, it does.
But it really starting to bother me how many things are happening with police officers that are not being addressed. Ashley Babbitt.
It's flashbacks to things like fascism, and I know I see communism all the time because I have to think of it as a joke at this point, but it's not. But fascism, yes, actually, is very similar to this, because that's what they did. Like, they took notes from the church, and it's one of those things where a lot of those guys are afraid of losing their jobs. But you know what? That's not the only reason. A lot of it has to do with what they're being told, how they're being trained, what they're being taught. Right now, they are. I don't have anywhere to say that doesn't point closer to shit I remember reading in school about Germany. Sorry, Australia, but what your police officers are doing looks a little bit fascist to me.
A little bit.
My thing has always been, no, it's not all cops. I mean, it's silly that we even have to clarify that, but no, it's not all of them.
Mm-mm.
But people who are drawn to a position of authority are the kind of people who are more likely to abuse that authority.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the nature of the job draws those kinds of people to it. So you are going to get a higher percentage of bad apples than you would in most other professions.
Yeah. It does make me feel for the good cops. It's one of those things where it always brings to mind that poor black guy who took heat from that lady in Portland, that kind who was just calling him all sorts of slurs and really not just dehumanizing him, but it's this thing where if you don't agree with me, or if you're doing something of a profession that I don't agree with, you're not really a black man, even if you are. It's that level of frustration where you're seeing that and you just want to reach through the screen and shake her and be like, are you fucking stupid? I can't, though.
There's a channel I follow called Amagansett Press. It's a First Amendment auditor, and he concentrates on post offices. That's his thing. They all have different. Some people go to federal buildings, some people go to cop stations, or some people just do them all. But he concentrates specifically on going to post offices because it's a unique situation, because post offices are federal property. They're not city or state property. They're federal property. So if you go to the post office and get the cops called on you, you get local police. Well, this is federal property. They can't do anything because you're not on state property. You're on federal property. They have no jurisdiction on federal property unless the judge for that county or city has had an agreement with the federal government that they will take care of policing the federal property. So if that situation doesn't exist, then when the local police shows up, he can basically just tell them, fuck off. He doesn't, but he could. But it makes post offices a little bit different than like a state capitol or a courthouse, where they have federal police right there, as opposed to post offices, which don't. They rely on local cops. And the post office, there are a couple of documents that protect First Amendment auditors when they're going to film on federal property. One of them is a DHS memo that was released in 2018, which specifically says you can film in foyers, hallways, all this kind of, it gives them all directions on where they can go. And basically it says anywhere that's not restricted, you can film on federal property. End of story. And I can, if anybody's curious about this stuff, I can show you what this, it's available online. The other thing is the post office itself has a document that is required by the federal government to be posted in the post office. This document is called Poster 7. And on Poster 7, it's the name of the poster is Poster 7, Rules and Regulations for Conduct on Postal Property. That's what Poster 7 is called. And it's required to be posted in the post office. It's like a doctor being required to post his degree on the wall or something. But I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's voluntary. I don't know. But the point being is it has to be there by the federal government's rules. And if you look on it, there's a section that says photography. And it specifically says you can photograph here as long as it's for news purposes, blah, 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 and stay out of restricted areas. It basically agrees with the Department of Homeland Services, DHS. It basically agrees with the DHS memo. 2 documents that confirm with each other that you can film. And of course, when you are filming, everything you film is being documented. So if a cop does show up, you can just take your SIM chip, hand it to him, and say, "Show me where I committed a crime."
Yeah.
You know, so they have all the, but very often, if you take a camera into a post office, the post office freaks out. You're not allowed to film here, even though if you look around the post office, there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
And then that moves over to the people who are there as patrons. Then they all freak out, and of course the cops are called. And then he says, "DHS memo, poster 7, y'all can kiss my ass." And even then, he's been escorted off of and trespassed from public property, which is against the law, by cops. And he turns around and sues them. And he wins because you cannot be trespassed from public in the United States. When it's United States law, so you guys may not be aware of this, but in the United States, you cannot be trespassed from public property unless you've committed a crime. So if you're in the post office just standing in the corner looking, they can't tell you to leave. Telling you to leave, well, they could tell you, but you don't actually have to. And if you're forced to leave, the judge has no option but to agree with you because it's written in law. It's plain and simple. It's just that the cops don't know. They don't understand that.
Wonder what the Australian rules are, because that'd be interesting.
I would love to know. I would like to know what Canada is too.
The post office near me has a sign in the window saying "No mask, no entry." But if it's public property, then
well, that the whole COVID thing is another deal because that COVID has all its own exceptions. But photography has been around for a long time. We've had cameras forever. And you know, I don't want to. I mean, we're already 22 minutes over, so I don't want to go much further. Maybe I'll just go to 10:30. But you see this kind of reaction from anybody. As soon as you bring out a camera, everybody's like, "Hey, you can't film me." Well, in the United States, if you're in public, I can film anything I can see from public, and I can stand outside of Arco's refinery and film the refinery as long as I'm standing on a public sidewalk. And you should see the reaction from these refinery people. They come out with weapons and knock people down. And, and they get all violent. And the cops have to be called to save the photographer. And then the cops go to the people who created the violence. And of course, the cops are on their side. They're not on the individual side. And they say, "Oh, he's allowed to. Go ahead, go. Everybody's good. We're not going to press any charges." And they walk away. You know, so you get to see more bad cops. So I mean, these audits really show you the state of freedom in America. From private property, you are allowed to photograph anything you can see, even if it's private property. If you're in your house and you have the window open, they can film you inside your house from public property. People don't get that. So this is like I said, this is where I see all these bad cops. I don't want to get back on that point, but this is where I see all the behavior of bad cops. And Amagansett Press, apparently this guy is rich, but he goes from post office to post office with his son, who is old, you know, he's like 17, so he's graduated high school. And he goes with his son and they both film. So if somebody attacks him, his son has pictures of it.
Right.
So they cover each other. And they go in this van, and he must have like he must be rich because he obviously doesn't have a job. All he does is goes from post office to post office. That's all he does. He doesn't have a job, and he's not. Apparently, he looks normal. He's acting normal. Doesn't appear to be, you know, on the government dime for being, you know, disabled in some way. But he's been, and what he does is he goes to the post office and he buys one stamp. That way he can prove that he was there for a legitimate reason. In case anyone says, "You're not even here for a gym. You just want to cause problems." No, I bought a stamp, dude. You know, so he has all the corners covered. And then when somebody steps out of line, like a police officer, or somebody, you know, punches him, because there's video of people. I mean, his son, a guy came up to him they were outside of the post office on public property. Actually, it wasn't a post office. It was a like a Jiffy Lube. I don't know if you're familiar with these stations where they do minor repairs to your cars. You know, change the oil, air filters, all that kind of stuff for like $20. You know, check your prior.
I've heard the name, but I don't know.
That's what they do.
There's an equivalent down here.
Light maintenance kind of places where you take to get your oil changed and you check your tires and refill your washer fluid and all the general little tiny things that people get annoyed at doing. And he's standing outside of one of these, and the customer who just got their car fixed goes to pull out, stops. He gets out, yells at them, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Walks up to his son and grabs his wrist and starts pulling him. Well, his son, being, you know, well aware of how people react, pulls out his mace and sprays the guy in the face.
Oof.
Right? So he falls down, yelling and screaming. He recovers enough, gets up, and he calls the cops. He calls the cops. The guy who got sprayed calls the cops. The cops come, and they charge him for grabbing the son's wrist and starting everything.
Yeah.
He called the cops on himself.
Yeah, he did. I could tell right away when you said that. I'm like, they're not going to target the kid. You grabbed him.
Yeah.
That's defense.
It is.
The minute the person who touches first is always the guy who's first and wrong.
And the son did not hesitate, and he did not miss.
Good on him.
Apparently, he has been trained how to use mace because he went right into the center of the guy's face. So it hit his nose and spread across both eyes. And yeah, it was. And he didn't use bear spray. He didn't use anything that would, you know, cause anything. You wouldn't cause him to throw up or anything like that. It's just enough to make him, you know, irritated and watery and, you know, and cough, that kind of stuff, but not anything dramatically bad. Just self-defense. You know, the lightest pepper spray you can think of is what hit him.
I've been often told that like a decent little dog spray will work.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't even colored. You know, most of the sprays have either a tan or a brown color to them. This was just clear. It was not even that. It was mostly water, really, I think. In any case, it was enough to stop the attack. But yeah, I don't want to. Like I said, I'm already spending more time on this than I really wanted to. But it's something I'm passionate about. I really enjoy these. Yeah. There's 3 of them. Amagansett Press, if you're looking for just post office, and the guy's a really cool guy. Huge beard, very manly man, kind of short. And his son looks like Neo. He's got the shorter Keanu Reeves haircut kind of deal, black hair. And then there's Audit the Audit, which looks at audits that have already passed, and then he rates the interaction on how the cops reacted and how the person reacted, and he gives them a grade. And he quotes laws along the way. So when the person who's the citizen says something, he'll say, "Well, before you take that for what he said, this is what the law actually says," and he'll show you. He'll highlight just the areas that are important. So he won't read the entire law to you. He'll just read, this is the part that pertains to what he's talking about, to either justify or, you know, dispute what the person says. And at the end, and he'll do the same thing to the cop. And at the end, he'll say, "So after looking at this interaction, we'll have to give the Leon County cops an F for fundamentally not knowing the rules of this, that, and the other. The citizen in this case, Joe, gets a C+ because he did this, but he didn't do that. And he did this, but he did that wrong. So, you know, that's how I see it, and that's how the show ends, and that's it." That's Audit the Audit. Very professional. Lackluster is another channel, and it's a little bit more personable. It's just one guy. It's not a hired voice actor like the other channel is. Audit the Audit has a hired guy doing the voiceovers for it. And he's running a script, where this guy Lackluster is kind of just off the cuff. He'll just pause it and talk. His face isn't on screen, but he'll pause it and talk as they go. He doesn't really quote laws, but he does justify what people say. And he doesn't give a grade at the end. But it's the same idea in general. So, I mean, if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, those are the channels I'd recommend for watching. It'll really give you an eye-opener about how cops really are, at least in the United States. Both of them are just USA. They don't really talk about anywhere else. I think he did a couple on Canada once, but basically they stick to the US.
Yeah, our CMP have some problems.
Yeah. So,
and so does Montreal.
There's nothing really sensational about it. He doesn't cover, like, you know, all the things that Ford did or any, you know, drug related stuff. He just does basically audits and stopping the driver, traffic stops, that kind of stuff. That's basically what he does. So
Fair enough.
yeah. Anyway, so we probably should wrap it, unless you guys have something else you want to talk about.
No, at best, I was gonna joke about how back during the Muslim terrorist scare of like 2016, 2015, I did have thoughts about making my own pepper spray, but with like ghost peppers.
You guys can't carry pepper spray, can you?
You can carry dog spray. Some people can register for bear spray, but that is technically you're supposed to use it on bears. At best, though, it is something where you might get a pass if it was in self-defense where you thought your life was in danger. You might get away with it, but it's kind of one of those last, I wouldn't reach for that can. I would reach for this one first. But at the same time, though, if all I had on me was oven cleaner, I would still use it just because, I'm not going to let somebody kill me or hurt me. And I'm well aware of the fact that to get oven cleaner off, you need to find water.
Right. Terry, do you what's the laws in Australia as far as self-defense? Can you carry sprays or anything like that?
I've never looked into what I'm allowed to do in terms of that, but I think they're pretty strict.
You have homework for next time then.
Yeah, I think the laws are generally pretty strict when it comes to any kind of
like Canada.
Yeah.
I imagine you probably have some stuff for like animals or things like that, because I'm sure you guys are kind of like
is there a spray for a 3-foot tarantula? I don't think there is one.
But like if you live on a farm, then you can have like a shotgun to like shoot pets and shit like that. But I don't know what like a guy in the city or a woman in the city carrying like pepper spray. I don't know the legality around that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of those things where like if you have cops to rely on, they generally don't want you to use weapons, unless you're in an area where maybe it's late at night and it might take the cops a little bit longer for them to get to you. You might get away with having something on you. But I don't know if that's the same for you guys, but up here that's generally how it is. Like, if you don't need it, don't take it with you.
Yeah. It's illegal. Okay, I just looked it up. In most states and territories, including New South Wales, it is illegal to carry or possess pepper spray or mace.
Man,
God,
you guys,
damn.
They really,
damn.
Yeah. But you know what? You can make that shit if you wanted to. It's really not hard.
Americans can carry mace, pepper spray, bear spray, tasers, and pistols and rifles. We can carry anything.
To be honest with you, Terry, I would cheat too. Like if you had to make your own, don't even go with the standard pepper. Go with like Malaysian crazy peppers.
No. Just say that it's food seasoning.
Right?
You use it for food.
I didn't know what else to use, so I threw food seasoning at them. That's kind of like trying to stay out, getting banned from Twitter.
Yeah.
It's the same idea. Break the law without breaking the law.
Yeah, I did also think about constructing little Swedish fish bombs, just stink bombs, but like super stink bombs. But I would actually make them worse, because not only would I open the can, I would go and find a place to go hide them for like a month. So like when I go and retrieve them, they're like.
Now it mentions mace, but they're talking about the spray. I don't know if it's legal to have a spiked ball on a chain. Probably not.
Probably. Not definitely, but probably. Yeah, can't carry anything. You can't even really carry a club, or you're not as bad as the UK. They can't even carry a screwdriver.
Yeah.
That's really bad. Yet they don't have. I'm not really seeing the UK quite as violent. I mean, there's protests for like masks and stuff like that, but I'm not seeing the crazy violence that I'm seeing in
No, I bet you
Australia.
get the drama kids who like clog up the streets everywhere and like the trains and shit, and British people really don't put up with stuff for very long. Like they'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, all right, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, fuck yourself, man.
Yeah.
And I like that about you guys. You should do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that I follow is kind of without, again, breaking Twitter or YouTube rules, are saying, what is it going to take for us to do something? How long are we going to continue to put up with this? You know, we're the only country who really isn't yelling and screaming. The UK is, Canada is,
It's because
Australia obviously is.
It's because we're still comfortable. Like when you really think about the difference.
Yeah, we haven't been violated hard enough yet.
Well, it's not about being violated hard enough. It's about where we're living. Like even the poorest person in North America can sit there and be like, and I know in the US it's a little bit different because you guys do have some shitholes. But even in those shitholes, if you look at other countries are still looking at your shithole and thinking it's a mansion.
Yeah, we have the richest poor people around, that's for sure.
And that is not throwing shade at people who are genuinely suffering, because I understand that too, because just because you're not as poor as the poorest person on the planet doesn't mean that you're not suffering. But when you are comfortable enough, you will sit in shit. Yeah. And that's the facts. But when you really start to get uncomfortable, that's when people start to move and get motivated. And a lot of these people are going to start doing that to themselves, because as much as the left likes to pass this stuff like passports, you know, for shit like vaccines, that's already bit them in the ass, because the black community is the thing. They exist.
Yeah, I remember watching a Jordan Peterson interview, and he was talking about the poor, and he was talking to a lady from, I think she was from Scotland. Yeah, he was having an interview with her, and she said she was very upset about the 1%. She says, these people, they have so much money, the 1%, and he says, well, globally, the 1% is anybody making more than 32,000, which would put you in the 1%. Mm-hmm. And she was stunned. I mean, you watch the video, she just stops and looks at him because she has nothing to say. He's made her out to be the terror that she was making everyone else out to be. And she says, no, the 1% are the people who do. I say, that's only in the United States. He says, globally, the 1% is 32K. So you live in Scotland. He says, I know what broadcasters make here. You're in the 60s. He says, you're in the 1%. And she's
like, wow. 1% by that standard.
Yeah, like really?
And my understanding is Scotland has different problems. Like, I mean, it's not like they don't have ghettos and violence and stuff, but they have different problems. They don't have the world shitholes either. They're fairly safe, I kind of thought, you know, despite like, you know.
Immigration was their issue.
Yeah. You know, so like.
They stopped that though.
You know, like in comparison to other countries, you know, I'm not saying that's like a high mark or anything, but in comparison to other countries, like they're fairly safe.
Yeah.
In comparison, I've just heard different things.
I was reading Assassination of the Grey in chat. I have sat in mud in a foxhole during training. I was enjoying myself.
See, first time I read that, I thought enjoying myself was a euphemism. I was like, dude, time and place.
Well, it's not that cannibalistic, Wizard. I 100% don't blame the black community for saying no to this shit, because every time the government tells them to take something, it's something that's been like kind of fucked up, like AIDS and shit. You know?
Yeah.
You know, there was like drug peddling and a whole lot of shit that was done through the government. So like, and the way that they've gone about it has felt like the same thing to them. So they're saying no to it, and I don't blame them at all. They are a group of people who've been very scared of their government in their home for a very long time. Some of them terrorize themselves, and in fact, they make a living off of terrorizing themselves. But you do have markers on your history where, yeah, they were fucked over.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I'm not blaming you because you weren't you weren't the one doing it, you know.
No.
But
my all right comes at the fact that we're making these poor people stay until 11 o'clock at night. So
we love you guys. Thank you for staying with us. And
so let's go ahead and roll on out.
Alrighty.
Thanks, guys, as always, for hanging out in chat. You guys crack me up. I love having people out in chat talk to us. If you're looking for more of the zoo, Our Discord server is linked in the description down below, and we're live every evening, 7 days a week. Quiz on Monday, Skep on Tuesday, the three of us today, obviously. Johnny on Thursday. So we need to get him a permanent position. I think he's still a temporary guy. Sanguine on Friday. Harry Channel boots the Saturday weekend shows, and either Poppy or Delahazed take turns hosting on Sundays. We'll be back next weekend as usual. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week. Bye everybody.
Everyone.
Have a good one, guys.